Good morning and welcome to our live educational event called Making It Together. I'm Josh Ellsworth.
I'm Jenna.
You're just Jenna?
From Stahls TV.
From Stahls TV. And this is our fourth day?
This is the fourth, yeah.
Fourth day of our live educational events, and we are coming to you to try to help you in your business during this downtime. We are hearing about all the challenges you're facing in your business, and we are just trying to teach you new things, hopefully new ways to decorate apparel, even firming up some of the your heat printing techniques with how to load and press items appropriately, talk to you about different products that can make you come back stronger, and also teach you some business basics today, like some design work and some calculating costs and setting selling prices. So we have a fun episode today. Yesterday we talked a lot about online stores. That was our primary topic, and we led off with 3 ways to decorate with heat transfer foil. So all of these are being recorded and they're available on Facebook on both our Stahls All Things Heat Printing Facebook page as well as our Heat Press for Profit Facebook group. So you can go back and watch the 3 days you missed or just join us from this day forward through the end of the month. So it's called Making It Together. We're excited to have you. If you're watching, please shout out where you're watching from. We've had people from all over the world joining in. And also mention when you're shouting out how many days that you've watched so far. For those of you that are joining for your 4th day in a row, we thank you for sticking with us. And I know we have some people that have joined for the last couple. And the reason why is because you want to learn more and you want to win something maybe. I hear we're doing some giveaways today as well.
We are.
Yeah, so every day we launch this survey. If you've already filled out at the survey, you don't have to do it again. But if you haven't filled out this 4-question survey, join, complete it, and then what we do is we print all these off in the morning before we come in here. These are your names, these are your responses to the survey. Trust me, we look through these, right? And we read what you would like to learn about in live upcoming broadcasts. That's the final question on the survey. And so one of those topics that you want to hear about that we're going to be talking about tomorrow is print cut and digital transfers. So I'm going to tap Bob Robinson, and he's going to come in and join Jenna, and they're going to talk about that topic tomorrow as well. So submit this, and then every day we'll draw 3 people out of this to win our lovely marketing kit. And let's take a look at what that looks like. Do you want to explain the marketing kit?
Yeah, so this really is a business in a box. This allows you to really market to current customers or customers you're looking to add, or whoever you may be prospecting at this point. But this includes transfers for you to start testing out transfer expresses, a variety of screen print transfers from plastisol ink, colors to metallics and pearls and glitters. So there's a lot in there that you can start working with, and it gives you all of those application instructions so you always know the right time, temperature, and pressure at your heat press, and some extra stuff in there as far as marketing goes.
Yeah, so we've had our poor trade show events canceled, which we were super sad about. We were getting ready to go out to the Impression Show in Atlantic City personally, and I know a lot of our folks are traveling to different places. Maybe you were planning on it as well. This marketing kit is always one of our top sellers at the trade shows out of our Transfer Express booth. So we thought, what better way to give back to the decorating community than to put some people with our top selling item. And actually, I ran some analytics on this about 30 days ago and was able to see a notable difference between decorators that purchased the marketing kit and those who did not, and their follow-up transfer business and their success. So this is a kit that impacts your business. It really gives you tools to market, tools to sell, create samples. So let's just lead off with the giveaway. I like that.
Awesome.
So we're going to pick out 3 people from this stack of papers, which are shuffled every day. If you've won, your name was already removed from the stack of papers, so I'm just getting in the middle anywhere here. There's 2 winners, and then our 3rd winner we'll take from right off the top side here. And you want to go ahead and read who we have today winning our marketing kits?
All right, so the first is Michael from Crazy Creations, Tees and More.
Congratulations, Michael.
The next is Tanya Richardson from Miss T.
All right, nice job, Tanya. Where's Tanya from?
She is from Texas.
Texas, all right.
And Kristen Ritchie from Kristen's Creations, LLC in Oklahoma.
All right. Round of applause. We promise we don't have a crowd in the back. It's just Joe, myself, and Jenna in the studio practicing our social distancing, as you see here. So the topic for today is the heat transfer vinyl workflow from start to finish. So for those of you that own a vinyl cutter, I think you'll still find a lot of value in this because we're going to talk about some products. You're going to learn a little bit about cool designs that you can create, actually one that was commented on in a previous live episode. And you'll also learn a little bit about multicolor, calculating costs, and just the workflow. So if you've never invested in a vinyl cutter, you're going to love this because you're going to understand everything involved in the process from start to finish and what you need to plan for, as well as what type of money you can make on designs created with the vinyl cutter. So with that, right before we open the episode, just to time constraints, we pre-pressed this look. We're going to be creating a his and hers look. This is the his version, the unisex tee. You see our seniors design, and we've kind of changed it for those of you that were on previous episodes, and we'll explain why here in a second. But this seniors design was a design that Jenna created in a completely free software that's always been free called CadworxLIVE that we give to you to create good vector art for vinyl cutting. And we've customized that, and we've also done a number drop to follow up on our concept of adding personalization and customization fields to players, to teams, to individuals to increase your profit per piece. So we pre-decorated this look, which is a new style from Sanmar. It has the nice mesh features to the top, so it's different than just your normal Sport Tech tee. And then Jenna's going to design for her look, the ladies look, and we'll decorate that one on the spot together. So with that, over to you, Jenna.
All right, so we're going to dive right into CadworxLIVE, as Josh mentioned. That is a free online artwork program. So it's online based. So you can access it from any computer. You don't have to worry about having it specified to one computer like some of the other platforms out there. So once you're logged into CadworxLIVE, you'll have access to a variety of templates and clip art that you can utilize to create your designs. And there are some basic features in here that allow you to do some editing as well. Right, so this is the design that we're creating here. It's 2-color, and we're actually going to be doing this out of Premium Plus, right, which is a great heat transfer vinyl for decorating spirit wear. So I'm going to be utilizing this piece to kind of mock and show you from scratch how this was created, because it's actually very simple. So the first step, obviously, is to add text, and our text is seniors, so we're going to start there. And then we're going to select a block font for that. My go-to for it is the Athletic 8, which is one of the fonts that is offered in CadworxLIVE. So not only do you have access to templates and clip art that are all customizable, but you also have a variety of fonts to choose from. So not only do we allow you to choose from fonts that we have preloaded into this platform for you to utilize, but you also have the ability to upload your own fonts as well. So we're going to be pulling from a font that I have uploaded a little later so you can see what that looks like. All right, so selecting that font, I'm just going to double click that. I'm going to give this a little bit of spacing just so that the letters aren't too close together when we start doing our contour effect. All right, so once that is added, I'm going to duplicate that and put this off to the side because we're going to come back and add that in again a little later. All right, I'm going to zoom in on this so you guys can see a good close-up. All right, and now we're going to add clip art. So to get that split text effect that's really popular, so you can see that duplicating seniors on both the top and the bottom of that design, all you have to do is add a piece of clip art and punch it through. All right, so the clip art I'm going to be pulling is a line, all right, and I can just type that right up there in the search bar, and a variety of different elements will populate on the screen that I have to choose from. So this gives you a good idea of all the clip art that is available for you to choose from. We're going to just be using this single horizontal line, and once I double click that, that will generate on the screen for me.
Yeah, so really, conceptually, CadWorx is a free program, so if you don't have a graphic design program and you want to create cool artwork, this is a place you can log in, register an account, and start playing around for free. We have tons of tutorial videos, most that Jenna did, that walks you through concepts like this. This is our first time showing this concept. You could certainly recreate this in Corel or Illustrator if you're a designer.
Yeah, absolutely. And this honestly is the platform that I got started in creating, and I never stopped. This is what I use all the time to create designs. So the next step is to make sure we're exactly center and middle of the text here so that it is an even split from the top and the bottom as we're building out the rest of that design. All right, so to do this, all I have to do is go to Align and select Center Middle. All right, prior to that, I made sure I selected both of those pieces so that it was centering and putting that line in place of that text there. So I'm exactly center and middle of that. Now to split, all you have to do is go to the Shaping tab and select Back minus Front. What this is going to do is punch that line through, which is creating that split in the text there. Once we've done that, we're done with the line. We can get rid of that by just selecting Delete on the keypad. And at this point, we have to separate each of these items. All right, so for that, all you select is Shaping and Break Apart by Regions. All right, breaking apart by regions is going to break apart each of these pieces. All right, so we still want the top to be grouped together. So I'm going to hover over each of these till they're all selected. Hit Shaping and Condense, and it's going to group those together. And I'm going to repeat that same step for the bottom as well.
And so you're actually clicking and dragging a box around all the elements you want to move together.
Right. All right, so once that's done, I have the ability to just start duplicating these and placing them how I want. So I'm going to zoom back out so I can see the rest of my artwork here and how we're going to align each of these things. So the first step I'm going to do is bring in that other senior's text that we duplicated earlier and do a combined contour so that I can create these open cavities in the text. And what's nice about CadWorx is it's not going to be a bunch of different steps. All I have to do is double click and add an effect, which is called a combined contour. So this is creating that contour automatically for me, so I don't have to worry about breaking apart each thing and creating different pieces to get this effect. Right, so I also have the ability to increase and decrease the thickness of the contour. So if I wanted it to be a little bit thicker, I have the ability to do that. And in some cases, it creates an easier way to weed.
Oh, hear that sound? We hit our goal. Although there's only 79 people watching live at this moment in time. Now 82, 83. It keeps going. It changes a little bit. But we've hit our goal of 80 live viewers, which I set for everybody yesterday. We're not going to stop now. I want to stay on this tutorial. But at the end of the episode, we're going to play a video that is a special hack that I've had in the vault since March that we were waiting on the right time to release. Well, it just became the right time. So make sure you stay tuned to the end of the episode where we'll show you that hack and talk about why I think it's so valuable to your business. So thanks for joining, everybody. Back to Jenna.
All right. So at this point, it's just duplicating and setting everything exactly where you need it in that design. So we're going to duplicate the top and bottom of these pieces by 3 and just keep aligning those.
And you're just aligning in the best way you know how? And you'll fix that later?
As of right now,
okay.
Yeah. And then we'll be able to center everything. All right. So then I'm going to do the same thing with the top piece. And all I'm doing to duplicate this is just selecting Control D on my keypad. All right, so now that I have these where I want them aligned to make sure I'm nice and center, all I have to do is go to Align and hit Center, and that's going to adjust everything for me. All right, so now we're going to add a little bit more customization and those personalization features.
Good. So it's easy to get lost in this. So I just want to kind of chart back through the steps slowly to make sure everybody's following. So step number 1 is you get your text on the screen. Step number 2 is you create a horizontal line and place it over the text, which is a piece of clip art. And that's going to be your piece where you're kind of cutting the text in half, for lack of a better word.
You got it.
You're going to center those together, and then you are going to select both pieces and do the front minus back command, and that basically creates my split. After that, you're just on the senior's text that's sitting there in the center, you're selecting that separate, doing your combined contour to be able to get just that sort of reverse effect on it. And then just making duplicate copies of your however many you want on top of the senior's top side of the design and the bottom.
Exactly.
And then centering them.
Yep.
Okay, so really easy. I mean, there's several steps in that, but really 5 or 6 steps, and you're to this point with whatever word mark you want, which can be a cool effect. Now, I want you to look at this through your weeding goggles for a second, right? Because we're operating a vinyl cutter. And I want to take a look at the original design, if we can come back to the main camera really quick. And if we can, just explain, we looked at this the other day, the difference between this one and the one we're creating now.
Yeah, so whenever we were considering which design we wanted to show how to do today from start to finish, this was one that picked up some specific questions whenever we've been live throughout the week. And we decided to go ahead and change out all these cavities because it takes a lot longer to weed each of those out. So all we did essentially here was just swap the effect here, where these individually weeded sections are now solid, and now the only part of this we have to worry about weeding the insides of is that center. Right, so just simply by swapping the features there, we're able to save a lot of time spent in production, especially if we're doing a ton of them. And if you have 200 to 500 seniors in one class, it's going to be a lot of weeding.
Yeah, so 42 picks versus 7 is the difference here. Now, you do compromise a little bit there. I'm sure you did that as a one-off shirt, and you designed to have the lightest weight feel possible on that mesh shirt. Although were you going to use a thin, stretchy vinyl, so it's still going to feel nice on this performance wear, it has the ability to feel even nicer if you were to do it that way because you were making a one-off. So you'll have to use your discretion there. It's balancing finished product look and feel with manufacturing time to make sure you can make money. And we'll go into that when we hit the cost calculator.
All right, so to add the last final pieces to our design here, we're going to add text and just customize with our school name and mascot. In this case, it's Bloomfield Bobcats. So we'll type that in and select font in order to change that from Arial to a font that maybe you have uploaded. All right, so in this case, we use the Eloise font, and that goes and changes that for us. Now, anytime you are working with a script font, one thing you want to be careful about is making sure you're connecting each of those pieces, because it can be a weeding nightmare if you do not weld these together. So to show you what I mean by that, I'm going to zoom in and select wireframe, and this is going to show you my cut lines. All right, this is exactly how the vinyl cutter is going to be reading this exact piece. So if I zoom in real tight here, you can see that each of these lines that connect each letter are moving into each other. So I can avoid this from happening in the vinyl cutting process by just selecting shaping and weld. So now I don't have cut lines in each of my letters. It's all one, and I don't have to worry about that showing up in my cut line.
That's really big with athletic tails too for baseball, welding that script text and that tail together.
All right, so now again, just back to placing it how I want it in the design. This is going to be a little bit of an overlay on the bottom there, and just making sure the colors that I'm planning on cutting these each out in do match so that I can just easily place those together in the next step. All right, and now we want to add our personalization. So again, back to basics, just adding text and adding that personalized feature in there. All right, so with this, just select an athletic font for the number and make sure we're sizing that to fit our garment as best as possible. So in this case, since we're working with a tank top for the ladies' version of this garment, we will be sizing it down to about 10 inches in width. Actually 9.5 to be safe, because the shoulders do taper in a bit there, so we want to be careful with that. All right, so this is good, and then the personalization feature for this garment is going to be on the back where the mesh is, so we want to make sure we're not exceeding the width there. 2.5 width is going to be ideal for that portion.
So the tip here is when you're designing, design with your garment and your platen in mind, because you're going to need a platen that gets that item flat So your design can't be larger than the platen you need to use. And then of course you don't want the design dimensions to exceed the available space in the garment. So it's a really important tip. I know we've all cut designs and sent them off to a trade show for an educational event, and then all of a sudden you get there in front of the class and you're trying to, you need that 6 by 10 inch platen or pad to print the bag, and your design is 7 by 11, and you're like, I can't do it. So keep that in mind all the way in the design phase, especially if you're cutting before your garments and you're pressing the first garment. That's really important.
All right, so the program that is associated with CadworxLIVE to take the artwork from CadWorx to the vinyl cutter is known as Vector Cut. Again, still free. You don't have to worry about any hidden costs there. So Vector Cut is the middleman that's taking your design from that online program and getting it to your vinyl cutter. So it's as simple as just going to File and sending to Vector Cut, and then that will populate on the screen. So it's going to show up as a little download from your window. And I'll just open that, and it's going to open up the application for me that is a download onto your computer. And now we can position things on here to make sure it's fitting our vinyl cutter accurately. So I know with Premium Plus High Tack, I'm working with a 20-inch material. So I'm adjusting my material size, which is already done for me here. And now it's just positioning it on the screen so I know it's going to accurately send to my vinyl cutter where that blade start point is. All right, so I have the white loaded in, and that is the
Bigger part
big
of the
part
design.
of the design, yeah. So in this case, it's the color black. Before we send the design, we want to make sure we're mirroring. And I have an auto origin feature that's going to put it right down in the corner and start cutting where I set my origin point on the vinyl cutter. All right, so I can feed my material back here a bit. Make sure I'm making the most of all the material I have there. And then before I send my design to cut, I'm going to make sure I'm selecting the origin button here. It's going to click to let me know the origin's set, or beep to let me know the origin's set. And now all I have to do is hit send cut job, and it's going to send that design to cut. Now, Vector Cut does have a lot of different features in it that allow you to duplicate designs, change the space in between designs. So just keep in mind, if you are doing multiple designs, you're able to gang each of these up and send them off to the vinyl cutter, because the GraphTech C6000 tracks up to 14 feet of material. So as many designs as you can fit in there to send a cut. You don't have to worry about sitting and babysitting the vinyl cutter. You just track it out. Make sure your designs are all loaded up accurately in Vector Cut, and then it'll do the work for you.
Now, while this is cutting, I'm seeing a couple questions come in. So good. Getting some shout outs on our equipment team, our quality experience team, helping people get set up with Corel Draw to their vinyl cutter. That's always great to hear. Carolyn asks a question. Can I send from Vector Cut directly to my Silhouette Cameo? Can you talk about some of the different sort of desktop cutters that are on the market and how people can use CadWorx and or Vector Cut to be able to drive those?
Yeah, so at this time, there isn't a connection from Vector Cut to any of those desktop cutters. Right now, we have it working great with any of the GCC style of vinyl cutters, GraphTech, Roland. But as of now, anytime I need to connect and cut designs with the Silhouette or the Cricut or the Brother Scan and Cut, I have to actually output my design. So I can go from CadWorx and save that image as a PDF or even a PNG and import it into those designers. So that's one thing Cricut and Silhouette has done very well with their design softwares, is they make it so that you have to be working with their software in order to cut with their equipment. So, but it is an easy input. So you're just exporting your designs and saving them and importing them right into the designers.
Yeah, so I like to kind of say it's the difference between a design software and a cut driver. So in this case, you would be leveraging CadWorx as your design software, but you would not leverage Vector Cut as your cut driver. So CadWorx has the ability, as Jenna mentioned, instead of saying send to Vector Cut, you just hit File and Export, and you can put it in whatever format that your cut driver would accept, so you can space it all up and get it over to the vinyl cutter. So Jenna is advancing the material and slicing it off. over to the side. And she's going to bring that over on the table to complete the weeding process, I believe.
While I'm doing that, I am going to load in the next color so that can cut while I'm weeding this piece.
Okay, while she's doing that, let me talk to you a little bit about the material selection and what we're using. So we are using CAD Cut Premium Plus. And so you heard her say Premium Plus, high tack or low tack. And so because we are doing performance wear, we want to select a material that's going to be as lightweight and as soft as possible on that garment. And then also we're a little bit concerned on, will that performance wear scorch or leave a box? So the materials that apply at 300 to 330 degrees, you're really going to have a higher risk of scorching that performance wear. Premium Plus is our stretchy, soft material that's intended for it. It presses down at 280 degrees. And so that's really how we ended up with our selection here, is we wanted to do a small quantity of shirts. So it left us in the category of heat transfer vinyl. We wanted to do personalization. And then we're like, what material do we select? Premium Plus. And honestly, we were a little bit influenced as well by the color orange, because we wanted to match the accent color on these garments perfectly. So we had our color swatches out, trying to find the right match. And luckily, we had the color in Premium Plus, which was not only the right match, but the right product for the job.
Yeah, I will say if you're trying to match colors for local school teams, it's pretty easy to get a match with our sport heat transfer vinyl being Premium Plus, Thermofilm, and even some sport film light colors. And all really easy heat transfer vinyls to work with as well.
Okay, so these materials are 20 inches wide. She's going to go ahead and select the second design from the computer, and I think you want to give a little tip on cutting this one, right?
Yeah, so since our design software had these pretty much grouped together, what I'm going to do is make sure we're not getting too much waste. So I'm going to be moving these design elements around so that they're closer together, so that we're not getting too much waste in there. If we originally went from how the design was set up in here, we would have a ton of space between seniors and the bloom-filled Bobcats there, which would have to be calculated into our price if we wanted to make up for that waste. So by avoiding that, we're just ganging them up together in vector cut so that they're side by side and not leaving too much waste there.
And how big is that design? 12.2 by 4.6, okay. When we do our cost calculation, that's going to be an important number for me.
All right, so as that's cutting, I'm going to go ahead and get this trimmed up and weeded. We did add a weed border around our design in vector cut, which allowed for less waste. So now if I needed to utilize this piece of material here for a smaller design, maybe I'm producing a bunch of white left chest logos, I can utilize that later. Right, that weed border also gives a really good start point on where to start weeding for this design.
I'd help, but I got to keep my space. So the weeding process is the process of removing the excess material from the carrier. So when we cut on the vinyl cutter, we're only programming the blade to cut through the film and not through the carrier. One of the biggest mistakes is people have their vinyl cutter blade out way too far, and that actually results in inaccurate cuts because you're perforating the back of the material. And then it's really causing like little skips and those sorts of things when you cut. So if you're having issues weeding your product or cutting your vinyl accurately, odds are you either have your blade too far out or you don't have a sharp blade. Those are the first two things I like to check, because really, as much weeding as there is here, this design is only going to take Jenna probably about 1.5 to 2 minutes to weed each one. And that's going to be an important number to keep in mind, because when you look at a design as a business owner, when you're pricing a job, you really have to guesstimate the weeding time for the design to make a quick estimate on the cost.
Right, in the white heat transfer vinyl right now, Josh mentioned that we're using a Premium Plus low tack and high tack. For this one, we did choose the low tack since there is a lot of more material or excess vinyl that's going to be weeded away. And whenever you're using the low tack, that's going to save a lot of time because there's more give to it, weeding away from that carrier.
Yeah, so I'd recommend order them both, try them, and settle on one that works for your business. So while Jenna's completing the other design, same process, she's going to slice it off, weed away the excess. I'm going to spend some time walking through the cost calculator before we get to the heat application part. So when you're in the business and you're looking at how do I guesstimate or cost what this is going to be, it becomes very difficult because there's a lot of moving parts for different designs, different garments, different quantities. So one thing we've done at Stahls is we've completed a Excel workbook called the Ultimate Cost Calculator that's going to make that process a heck of a lot easier for you. So I'd like to walk you through that, and then we will share a link where you can complete a survey in order to download this cost calculator, or if you already have a Stahls account, you just log in and you can download it. So cost calculator is a tool. You download it, you save it, you keep it for your shop, and it has all of the Stahls materials already preloaded into it, including Premium Plus that we're working with. So step one is marked right here on the left-hand side. Your job is to complete all of the fields that are highlighted in yellow here. Those are the only editable fields on the workbook. So number one is you want to enter your shop's overhead percentage. We don't have enough time to talk through overhead, but the thing I want to stress is that overhead is an extremely important factor in the cost calculation, because if you don't include your indirect expenses like your marketing expense, your sales expense, your lease, your electricity, all those things that don't go into your direct manufacturing labor, then you are shortchanging yourself, and at the end of it, when you look at your bank statement, you're going to have less money in the bank than you expected on all your jobs. So if you want to calculate actual profit and cost, that's very important. So you can always hover, and this will give you the formula on how to do that, but you enter your shop's overhead percentage, and we give you a calculation on how to make that happen. Next, you want to enter the hourly rate that you're going to pay to both your heat press employee and weeding employee. If you're doing this yourself, make sure you pay yourself. If you ever plan to hire, expand your business, move on from the job, you want to have that built into your cost. Very important, pay yourself for your time, because certainly there is a cost to your time, opportunity cost. You're not out there selling and marketing. So we've put in the average rates that we received on the survey that people completed when they downloaded this in 2019 for both the heat press and the weeding rates, so we get a good factor on what that looks like. Also important to decide whether you're going to include benefits here on top of that. If that's something you extend to your employees in the business, make sure you have that factored in to your hourly rate, so it's not a hidden cost. Next is really, I recommend completing that for your shop, saving it, and then we really get into the per job info, which is what we're going to be interested in for this design. And so the total number of cut designs per garment. And so if we look at the shirt I have here, it's looking like basically 2 cut designs on the front of the garment, and I'm going to add a third design for this placement on the back. So every color per location is going to be a cut design, because it's going to factor in the weeding time for that, as well as the heat application time for that. And I'm going to want to specify those sizes of those designs independently. So if it's a different location, if it's a different color, that equals a cut design. So this garment has 3 cut designs for the garment, 2 on the front, 1 on the back. So I'm going to go ahead in the cost calculator, and I'm going to enter 3. And again, if you forget any of this, you can hover over where there's these little arrows, and there's a tip there that talks about how to do it. Okay. Next is the average time to weed or mask, if this works for print cut as well, which we'll talk about tomorrow, each cut design in minutes. So Jenna just finished up the other cut design over here at the table. So the front design with the senior split text took about 2 minutes. The orange design here took about 2 minutes, which included the small number personalization. So I'm just going to leave 2 minutes in there per design, and I think that will actually be an overestimate for this garment. Next is the average to heat press each cut design in minutes. So what I like to do is say, how long will it take me to load that shirt, press all of these designs, unload that shirt, and do anything like bagging and boxing. So if I think that process for the garment will take me about 5 minutes, or let's say 6 minutes, I divide that by my total number of cut designs, which is 3, so I'm going to average it at 2 minutes per cut design. Basically, I want to make sure I'm capturing all of the labor that goes into this along the process. We cover the two major labor factors, which are weeding and heat application here. Make sure you bundle any other labor costs like loading the vinyl cutter with vinyl into those calculations. Next, you're going to enter the cost of the blank design, and we looked these up before. I think one was $8.99 for the ladies' garment that we're going to decorate. The men's garment was $6.99, or the unisex one. So we're going to go with the $8.99 since that's the one we're going to be printing right now. And then how many of these are we going to print for the entire job? And so let's just say we're going to do 35 of the men's, 35 of the women's. We'll put in 35 right there. And then it will calculate how much time that's going to take, how much time I need to plan for in my business per task and in total in case I'm doing it all. Next, and this is really the big part, is how big are the designs, because this is the material utilization. So on the white design, Jenna, what was my size for the main front white design as far as what we factored?
That was...
I think you sized it to 9.5 or something.
9.5 by 10.5.
So 9.5 wide by 10.5 height or length. So I can see it's completing the calculation. And the other design, I did save it here in a Word document. We said it was 12.2 by 4.6. So I'm just going to enter 12.5 by 5. And how about that small number? What was that? 2 by 2 or 2 by 3?
That was, yeah, 2 by 2 would be closest.
2 by 2. All right, so it's instantly going to tell you how much material you need for each design. So if I know this placement design, number one is white material, I'm going to need, for the Premium Plus, 12 inches. 12 yards of material for these 35 designs. 11.67 yards is what it's showing there, so I want to make sure I have 12 yards for those designs. The other thing that I see here, and you have to kind of know this, the calculator can't do this for you. We probably should have made that design. If you look at the width, it's 9.5 inches. That's going to mean I can't fit 2 up with the waist factor on the roll. So I probably should look at making that design 9 inches if I'm really going to be completing this job at volume. And then that will allow me to fit multiples up and drastically change the equation. The other thing you can do is you can mess around with inverting these sizes to get a different outcome. So you see when I switched it from 10.5 to 9 instead of 9.5 by 10.5, it factors it one way. It took me from needing 12 yards down to 6 yards. So that's just like a little intricacy of the calculator that we can't calculate for, that you need to be able to figure out. And we give you the tips on how to do that. So once you have those designs, basically I've completed everything I need to on the calculator. And when I scroll over to the right here, I'm going to go try to find Premium Plus. It's going to tell me my material cost per design, if I'm looking across the Premium Plus line, which is here, is $1.79. It's going to tell me my heat press cost is $1.33, weeding cost $1.34, overhead $2.02. So you see how that can creep up on you if you don't calculate it. And garment cost $8.99. So my total cost per piece is $15.46. And then here's how much the job cost me to make. We're going to talk in a second on what you can sell it for. But here I get a clear indication of how much that's going to cost me to make, including all of my material, all of my labor, and my overhead. And we do factor in a 20% waste factor on the material, assuming that across all of your jobs you're going to have a 15% waste factor on your material, of material you're just not going to be able to capture that's going to be thrown in the garbage. Now, we don't have a ton of time to go through it, but this cost calculator also allows you to update the cost. We're calculating it here from an average square foot price of all the 25-yard roll length. You can change that based on the roll sizes and your costs that you're seeing landed to your business, so include the freight. And then also the yardage data. If you can use more than 19 inches on a 20-inch wide roll, you change that factor and it moves along for you. So that's the cost calculator. It's designed to help you grow your business. So we have these completed, and we need to heat apply them. And we're going to stop and take some questions here in a minute, but first I want to make sure we get to all of the heat application on this. So there's a link to the cost calculator, by the way. Thanks, I didn't even know you had that ready to go. Thanks, Joe. Always taking care of us. So over at the heat press, let's take a close-up look here. I have my auto-clam heat press. I have it set for 208 degrees. Again, when you first start for the day, Make sure you lock that press down, preheat that lower platen. Usually I like to run it for about 10-15 seconds to get, especially on low temp materials, to make sure I'm getting to the melt point of the adhesive. So it's always a good idea just to warm up that base platen so your first shirt comes off of the press as nicely as your 35th shirt in this case. At this point, I'm going to take this style, and to show you more about the style, it has a nice mesh stripe in the back. It actually has a hood on it, lots of good detailing to it, and it is a tank top hoodie as well. So I'm going to split and load this.
For those of you interested in the garment, this is available on Sanmar. It's a Sport Tech brand, and the item numbers are LST410 for the ladies garment that you see now, and then for the unisex, it's ST410.
Great. So I'm going to preheat. So a lot of people would say, how about these seams, right? And in most cases, I would prefer to go to the 11x15 platen. It's going to give me a more accurate result. Since it's a light gray, I'm not too worried about these seams glossing up, but if the garment were navy or black or blue, I certainly would be worried about these seams receiving a lot of the pressure and creating a glossy effect on the seams and impacting the quality. So really you should get to a completely flat area if you can. Actually, why don't I just do it? I shouldn't talk about it. I should do what I'm supposed to. So let me swap this off. And let me grab my 11x15 platen, which is over here. Again, this is a good reason why you load one garment. Make sure your design will fit on the platen. I'm going to preheat this 11x15 again to make sure I'm in good shape. My garment has already been preheated at this point. I'm going to load the garment onto the press. Now I have what I need. So it's going to be a little tougher to get your garment straight, but I have these seams that I can operate by. I'm going to slide it on, lock it down. Just give it a little kiss to make sure it's warm. And then we'll work on positioning my design down. So I like to start with the biggest design, position that into place. Again, this is just kind of a normal neck. It's not a scoop neck or anything, so I'm going to give it about an inch, inch and a half down from the collar. Position that into place. And heat apply. For Premium Plus, I'm at 280 degrees. The base layer, I'm going to give about 5 seconds just to get it to temporarily hold at a medium to firm pressure. Now, Premium Plus is a warm peel. That means on the low tack version, that means I don't want to just go and rip it right away. I just want to give it maybe 5 or 10 seconds to peel down here. If you want to get the heat eraser, you can get that. Basically, it's kind of like a dry erase board eraser that you can rub over it to peel it quicker. You can also roll an old shirt up into a ball and accomplish the same thing. But once it's cooled down for a few seconds, I'm just going to grab the corner. And I always like to peel these at a 90-degree angle. And you see how I'm trailing the design with my hand? I'm trying to prevent this stretchy shirt from warping too much. So I always like to do that on performance wear. I kind of trail it with my hand to keep it flat. And now that allows me to line up my second design. And again, Jenna cut these in 2 separate pieces because otherwise I would have all this material waste. And for me, I think the placement's easy enough that I'm just going to lay it up and not have to worry about that waste. With Premium Plus, cover sheet's always a good idea. I live on the edge. I know Premium Plus isn't going to stick to the top of my heater, so I'm going to go ahead and just heat apply it down. Again, because excuse me, because this carrier is overlapping some parts of my design, I don't want to leave a little indent. I'm very anal about quality, so I'm going to just tack that layer down for the 5 seconds as well, remove the carrier, and then I'm going to finish both of my designs for the full 10 seconds. Now, high tack is more of a hot peel, so that's one of the advantages. It's a little bit of a stickier backing. The film that's being applied to the garment, the actual finished result is the same thing, so your customer will never know the difference. They are completely the same colors and interchangeable. So we've completed this side and it feels great. Because I have it loaded on the heat press, I can spin it around and I can get to another customization zone. So what did you have in mind for the number? Where's that going to go?
On the mesh. So there's 2 colors there you have to choose from.
If you're going to use the mesh, use the white.
Got it. Yeah, orange on orange. It might be kind of cool, but I don't know on this one. It's a pretty close match. So keep in mind when you're decorating hoodies, people are going to be usually wearing it with the hood down. So you want to make sure you hit a placement that's going to display far enough down. It's very important when you're putting like names and numbers on garments. So in this case, we're going to do this. Since it's single step, I'm going to make sure it's 10 seconds. And heat apply. And if I'm not using a cover sheet, I always like to catch the handle a bit on the auto open just to make sure there's not a vacuum effect and it lifts. And because it's only a single step, I can pull it off the press, wait for it to cool down for that 5 to 10 seconds, and peel the carrier warm. So let's talk about what you think you could sell this for. Let me peel it first. And heat transfer films cover the holes on mesh, so the mesh won't breathe through them. It's going to cover all of the holes. Yeah, let's get a good look at the mesh here. So really cool stuff.
While you guys are thinking about what you would sell this for, remember the cost to produce was around $15, correct? With the calculator?
Yeah, $15. And then the men's garment, you're going to have a little bit more material cost, but you're going to have less cost, a couple bucks less for the actual garment. So it should come in around $14, I would say. So we have the his and hers senior set from start to finish. Go ahead and type in what you think you could sell that for, and then I'll give you some strategies to coming up with your selling prices. So in your area, at a 35-piece or 24-piece job, something in that range, what do you think you could sell it for? You getting anything, Joe? Because I'm not seeing it here. Not answering me today. Okay, so there are 3 strategies to set selling price. 1 is gross profit margin, 2 is a markup, and 3 is profit per piece. If you've watched any of my content, you know that I'm a big fan of profit per piece. And so what I recommend, the problem with the markup is sometimes you can take a high-end item like a jacket that will cost you $35 to make, and all of a sudden you want to charge $70 if you're at a 200% markup, and that's going to leave you priced out of the market. With heat printing, it takes the same amount of work and effort as long as you have the right material to heat print performance wear, a basic t-shirt, or a high-end nylon jacket if you have the right product. So for me, it's more really about time on the heat press, and so I'm a big fan of the profit per piece model, and then of course always market value. So I would set a rule for your business that you always want to be making X profit per piece when that heat press locks down. And so if that number for you is $10, basically you take the $15 price point, you add $10 to it and say we're going to sell this at a minimum of $25. If you feel like the market can command more, or if it's for a fundraiser, then you go up from there. But I certainly think these items can command anywhere from the $20 to the $40 price point. You just have to set that price for your business, for your client, based on your market and the order size. So that's what I'm kind of seeing here. So White River Design Company would sell that hoodie for $39 to $49, $24.95 on the t-shirt. And so you get the concept right in the ball game. So I would say I think that 20 to 40 is a sweet spot. For me, it would be at least $10 profit per piece to make sure I'm valuing my time. I've certainly already paid myself for the labor if I'm doing it all myself, which is another positive. So we're going to flash the name of our title one more time. It's Making It Together. I want to make sure I hit this survey link where you can visit if you haven't over the last 3 days. This is day 4. You can complete this survey. The important thing that you visit this and fill out the survey is you get into our giveaways each day, which we did at the beginning of the show this time, where we're giving away marketing kits. And as we get into next week and towards the end of the month, we'll be giving away even more stuff. Tomorrow, I believe, we'll also be announcing, either tomorrow or Monday, some really good event specials for these live events that will give you an opportunity to invest in new equipment or save money on shipping on some product. You'll hear some more news about that either tomorrow or Monday, but we are working on that for you to try to help during this time and offset some of your cost of product. Now, we hit our 80 viewers today, and so I promised you I would show you a hack. And so this was filmed back in March, so you'll have to just kind of listen to the audio as if when I filmed that. And I'm going to stay on along with Jenna to answer any questions on anything we've covered today after you enjoy this video. Hi, this is Josh Ellsworth with Stahls, and I'm bringing you a new concept which is very exciting from our Stahls Transfer Express division. This product is called Stretch Litho Matte. Customers have been loving it for creating heat transfers that feel great, apply at a low temperature, lots of benefits there. Unlimited colors all on one sheet. So I ordered some of this the other day, wanted to try a concept. What I did is I flooded the whole sheet with just a square design. You could make this all one solid color from the Transfer Express color book. You can upload your own image to make it a pattern. You can group several patterns like I've done here. What I did is I took this sheet, loaded it into a standard vinyl cutter that used a blade, cut the design, and then weeded it. I'll show you in a minute, but this is my finished result. So you can't do extremely fine detail on it, but for basic text designs and weeding, it's pretty easy to use. So I'm going to trim apart these designs first so I can show you them individually. Trim apart my various sections. And this one, we'll start with my monogram design. I'm going to take my weeding tool, grab the outside edge, and remove the excess. Now, keep in mind this is a screen printing ink, so you're going to get the benefit of a really soft feel. Also, nice benefit is if you know you have a repetitive design, you can drop that onto your sheet and then put a block of color where you want to cut your name and number or your personalization. And so now I know the colors match perfectly to my print. So there's a lot of different ways you could imagine and leverage this. But it's not a sticky backing, so you won't want to do too fine detail, but it is fairly easy. If you accidentally lift a piece, you can just break it, position it back down as best you can, and then weed away the excess, trim apart your designs, and heat apply. Another concept is tiling a pattern throughout. And so let's weed this one to show you the process for a text-based design with 2 lines of text. Again, you get a little bit more breaking, a little more delicate than a standard heat transfer vinyl because we are, in fact, weeding a screen printed ink. But as we know, the benefit here is custom colors at low quantity. So with Stretch Litho Matte, you can order a minimum of 5 sheets. So to be able to do a custom color or custom pattern at just a 5-sheet quantity is pretty awesome. And to be able to cut variable data, so you stock those 5 sheets and then you can cut as little as 1 design, weed it, and heat apply it. So that's the big benefit here. Process works the same. The nice thing is for pattern product, there is no masking, right? Because it's already color side down and comes to you on this carrier where you're just going to weed it, flip it over, and heat apply. The last sample I wanted to show, and this one I was trying something, it is a little bit more difficult to weed because I've actually put a mesh pattern in here. You could put a distress pattern. You could do all types of overlays that are available in our Easy View Designer on Transfer Express. Makes it a little bit more likely to break when you're weeding it, so you want to be careful of small areas, but again, you can do this. It makes for a breathable design if you're going to use this product, especially for names and numbers, so you get a really great feeling finish with a perforated result. A little bit of a technique to weeding it, kind of trail your cut line around. I did, in fact, cut a name on top as well. And go back in here and complete the process. Again, you have to be careful because it does break a little more. Like areas like this, you can kind of just roll with your finger and lift off. It's very easy to do that. And then use your weeding tool for your center pieces, being careful not to pick up anything you don't want. And again, we have the completed design. Heat presses at the normal Stretch Litho Matte application instructions, 275 degrees. It only takes, I think it's 11 to 15 seconds. When you're cutting it, interesting enough, you can cold peel it, but I've had some success even warm or hot peeling it, which is great, speeds up the process a little bit, and you just get a great finished look and feel. So something new, something to try in your business, kind of hacking a product that we already sell to be able to have a unique purpose with custom colors and custom patterns. So Stretch Litho Matte, order it from transferexpress.com. So that was kind of a fun little hack, being able to cut ink.
Right.
So
that's the craziest part about it, is that it's ink, not heat transfer vinyl. So it's going to have a totally different feel on the garment, which is really cool.
Yeah, we've been getting great feedback on our Stretch Litho Matte transfers, which we've been showing a lot, and we showed on day one of the live broadcast, and we'll be talking even more on. But when you think about being able to, I think of a concept of using part of the sheet for getting your actual design that's going to go on all 35 shirts, for instance. So on this one, what I would have done is I would have created this design in Easy View, and I may have sized it down a little bit so I could fit my other part, but I've created the sheet, and then I would have just put a little block of ink on the bottom of the sheet where I can line up my cutter and just cut the number personalization. So now the finish perfectly matches what's on the front. You can do personalization and the colors match, and you get that super soft ink Stretch Litho Matte feel. So something unique, something for you to think about. It's kind of fresh in our minds. We have to figure out the economics of it. I saw a question about what does this cost versus CAD cut patterns. I think one of the benefits of this is there's no masking process, so there is a reduction of labor. So we'd have to run it through our cost calculator and be able to answer that question a little more effectively after the show. But something new, something different, something to maybe try. And that's really the lesson out of this is experiment. Who knows what you'll come on to, maybe something that can be proprietary for your business that you can figure out just by thinking, being creative, decorating a new item in a new way, maybe an item you didn't think was possible. Talk to a decorator that heat applied heat transfer vinyl to cardstock. Seems like a pretty expensive way to do it, but they had an idea and they executed it. And I think trying new things is certainly important, having that curiosity as a business owner. So it looks like we're pretty up to speed on the question. So Lisa, yeah, kind of an alternative to print cut as well, just a way to combine that screen printing look and feel to make the personalization match, or in the case where you need a certain color that's not offered in heat transfer vinyl, being able to get that color because you can Pantone match in screen printing ink. So pretty cool stuff. So I want to thank everybody. Did I remember everything today, Joe? Remembered everything. So I got to tell you that I'm getting picked on a little bit here. I appreciate the good-natured comment, the compliment that I received on me being color coordinated today. But during that break when they turned our mics down, Joe was reading back the comments, and Jenna actually said that Bob has jokes out there. And so Bob's going to be on tomorrow. So we're going to make sure you remember some jokes for Bob. But Bob says it looks like my mom dressed me today. So that was really nice of him to say. So I take that as a compliment as well. I know he meant it in good fun. So again, hopefully you can laugh, have some humor in this time. We want to thank you for joining us in our Making It Together live sessions. We'll be coming live to you again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Until then, thanks for watching.
Thanks.